94XO, it's Moni XO. I'm hanging out with Frankie and Lillian with Shift Films. Make sure you guys stay tuned. You're watching 94XO.
I don't know. It's troubling though when you get a lot of those kinds of comments from the Lemps. You get a lot of that salacious details, the things that they live with their entire lives.
A woman definitely could commit suicide with a revolver like the Colt Police positive a .32 caliber.
I can't imagine even a coroner, an old-time coroner, allowing this to be deemed suicide without more investigation.
It's a great American tragedy.
What have been some of the different films or directors, producers, etc., that have really inspired you when it comes to taking this industry more serious?
I tend to lean to the classics. I know that's kind of a cliche answer, but I'm a huge Orson Welles fan.
Okay.
Because of his illusion. He liked to allude to love and allude to violence, but never show it. And I think that takes a lot from a filmmaker to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't like sex scenes. I don't like violence, heavily violent scenes. I like to just allude to them. I just think the movie is more powerful. It's a difference between an A movie and a B movie for me. But like anyone, I love what Tarantino's done. I love that he had a set number of films he was going to do. And everything he puts in those films are just, it's brilliant. I don't think he's ever missed on a film. And that's because he takes his time, he uses real film, and he has a nice signature about who he is. You can get into Hitchcock. But a lot of times we don't talk about people like Steven Bogdanovich, who was basically the apprentice of Orson Welles. He did a film called Paper Moon. He did a couple famous films that people should really start looking at his work again if they want to graduate to intrigue and character development. He was beautiful at it, great writer. So
I would say, now when you talk about all these different film directors and whatnot, what is the most challenging thing, I guess, for you when it comes to having all these different inspirations and then making your own films?
Overlap. I think that you don't want people watching your film being like, oh, I guess he's a Guy Ritchie fan.
Oh.
You kind of want your own signature to it. And so what I try to tell people, like when you get started in direction or when you get started in making films, that we're never going to reinvent the wheel. But we're going to do something that's going to make the wheel do something different that no one's done it before. Everything's been done before, but the fact that you haven't done it makes it different.
Yeah.
So what is your spin? What is your signature? And those are the things you look for. And don't kill yourself trying to figure out what that is. You will find it within your film. And it'll take you a couple films to do it. It'll take you a couple edits to do it. I mean, as she can definitely talk to from editing standpoint.
Yeah.
Doing our first film together, we came across that. We look at our old films now and it's like, man, I would have done this differently. I would have liked to have done this. Wish we had more money, wish we had more time. So that's good. It's just a stepping stone.
Yeah, so it's something that's a big learning experience, I guess, for you guys. And speaking of that, like you've been working on this documentary now for some years. Let's go ahead and elaborate on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, I think, now closing in on the 7th year. Of the Elsa Lemp film, essentially called Lemp's Last Rite. Documentary film is the hardest film to make, and followed by that would be comedy. Those are the two top hardest films to
Definitely comedy.
Definitely comedy, because it's hard to get an entire audience to laugh, right? People like certain things. With documentary film, the story constantly changes. It's not as easy as people set out to think it is. Oh, I just got to find some research, and that's not it. The research in and of itself within this film, nothing's online. There was nothing. I couldn't go to Google and just Google Elsa Lemp. All you're going to get is ghost stories. You're going to get the Lemp Mansion. You're going to get Sunday chicken dinners. You're not going to get anything on her. You have to dig very deep in the archives of all of them in St. Louis. And thank God we live in a city that saved all their stuff.
Yeah.
That we do have access to it. And that's the beauty of doing a film in St. Louis and understanding that you do have a hold on the history. And the funny thing about that is when you turn back the pages of time, they create these things I like to call rabbit holes. And that's what makes the film take forever, because then you have to go down the rabbit hole. And that's kind of where she's in as an editing standpoint. It's like, why aren't we putting this in the film? This is amazing.
We need all these rabbit holes. Yeah. Where do we put them in the film?
Right, exactly.
But how was production, though, when it came to creating the film, though? Like, you talk about these different archives and whatnot, but actually putting everything together, like, how was that experience?
I'm going to leave that to you.
Or how is that experience going?
It's a constant pickup. It's a constant reiteration of the stuff that we have shot to make sure that it's what we want. The story kept changing, and that was the problem.
Yeah.
Looking back now, I think that we could probably get a documentary done within 2 to 3 years because of all the mistakes we made. But the thing that we did on the set was fail fast. We learned that this wasn't going to work, and we had to make a change, and sometimes it was costly because we funded this film ourselves. We didn't look for one investor, and we didn't do anything on Kickstarter. And even today, when me and Lily were going over the film and the script, we have a new shoot set up for April 22nd through the 25th, because there are things that we really want to highlight in the film. And over the next couple of weeks, we're going to actually stop the editing process, is what she's doing. We're going to go shoot and then throw those things in to fill the rabbit holes that she was talking about. So a documentary is an ever-growing, I'm sorry, not ever-growing, it's a living, breathing thing that you have to be absolutely sure that you are correct. You face libel if you say something inaccurate, and families are still alive. This might have been 100 years ago.
Exactly.
But they're watching, and we know that they're watching. And so we have to be very careful about how we shoot stuff. Documentaries don't have the luxury of creating docudramas where I can add or embellish a story. I cannot. The reason why there's no speaking parts is because we don't know what they said.
Right. Although we know a lot of what other people have been documented to say about them.
Right.
We don't have any footage of them, out at a bar or, racing cars, as Elsa loved to do. We kind of have to fill in those gaps based on what we hear, what we've read about these people from other sources.
And I really love that you guys really talk about like all the different things that happen behind the scenes, because a lot of people on the outside looking in don't really understand like how much work and time you put into something, all the research you have done, especially because nothing is on Google, like you said. So being able to help you guys bring out that you guys put a lot of time into this, 7 years, and then 10 times, other people are sleeping, and we're just like, wow, once we see the final, product come out, they'll be like, wow, now I understand, So one thing also that's very important is having a female voice for this documentary. So can you kind of explain why that is important?
Well, Elsa was a very important woman back in that time period. Should I talk a little bit about who she was? And
Definitely.
why she was kind of
a lot of people in St. Louis, they know about like the Lemp Mansion and going to the haunted house and stuff like that, but they don't really know a lot of history about the family. So definitely like that, touching on that would be great.
Okay. So she was a little bit of a, exciting, vivacious person. She liked to do, of course, what she wanted to do. And yes, she was, the richest woman in St. Louis at that time. But she, had a very wild, free heart. She was a woman who loved to give and, go out and do really fun, exciting things.
Yeah.
So she was a race car driver. She liked to collect these cars and go and race her brother Edwin. She loved to go to the bars when women back then weren't allowed to go to the bars. Her and her sister Lillian, sister-in-law, would go dress up as men and go into these bars. Very much everyone knew who they were. There was no hiding the fact that this was Elsa and Lillian Lemp. But they would go into these bars because, who was going to say something
like
to them?
stop them,
Who was gonna
exactly,
stop
right.
them? They were the ones making the beer that these guys in this bar were drinking. So, she kind of did these things that were against the mold. She, one time, went and saw this horse race and she decided, that winning horse, I'm going to buy it because, I guess I
I
can't,
can't.
but I want that. And so you just ride it around St. Louis. Like,
Yep.
I think that's such a fun, beautiful thing that she would do. But not only those things that are kind of like wild-spirited, she was very passionate about the children's hospital and taking care of children that were, didn't have like the best upbringing or
Orphanages.
orphanage. She was very, very passionate about the orphans in St. Louis. So, when she died, there was a lot of money that was given to the hospital, St. Children's Hospital, and the St. Louis Children's Hospital. And without her, it wouldn't exist today. It wouldn't be what it is today.
Wow, I know a lot of people do not know that.
As BJC, I mean, it's Barnes
Yeah.
Jewish, and what Lily is going into there is that like they used to have a plaque for Elsa, and it was called the Elsa Lemp, and in their annual report, it's still the Elsa Lemp Children's Fund, and she's the one that really, when she dies, her entire estate's supposed to go there, but it was over $100,000 at the time, so 1920, that's about close to $1.3 million that she would donate to that fund. It pretty much started the entire revolution with the Children's Hospital and her love for them. Elsa tried to have a child in 1914, and unfortunately it went tragically wrong, and the child lived for about 2 hours, Patricia. And she's buried next to Elsa at the Bell Fountain Cemetery.
You guys did your research.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, and to allude to the fact that is like the reason why, one of the reasons why Lily's editing the film is because we wanted a woman's voice to tell the story. I think too many times when it's not really mansplaining, I hate that, but when you have so many men in a film talking about a woman, and then you realize that the circumstances surrounding her death were so concaved with men making decisions for a dead woman who was a very powerful woman, but in that state she wasn't. So to have a lot of the interviews, a lot of the historians are men, so our film was very male dominant, and to have Lily kind of come in and look at the voice of what we had shot, what we had edited, and for her to look at it and say, I really want to give it a shot. I think that this film is good, and I think I can make it great. And I think that I can lend a touch. She plays Elsa, so she understands where Elsa's coming from. And it's the creepiest thing about it is, her and Elsa have a lot of similarities. They're both rebels. They're both daredevils. I mean, she was
Life of the party.
Yeah. Elsa was the race car driver. She's the motorcyclist. So there's definitely that wave of free spirit that within itself kind of haunts both of them. It is this. She's jumped out of airplanes, not tandem, like literally just said taxi and jumped out of a perfectly wonderful airplane. Just I'm gonna jump out now, and I'm gonna pull this little thing and I'm gonna land. So that, I believe, if that was around, I think Elsa would have jumped on and did it. I mean, she the biggest thing about her, and I think that you'll see more in the film, but she does take this crazy journey that she faces the Bering Sea, the Arctic Sea. I mean, Elsa is not taking the normal cruise line. She wants to take the Arctic Sea, which even today is the deadliest sea there is. I mean, there's a show called Deadliest Catch. And she's like, yeah, I'm just going to go there and go to Eastern European, visit some family, I'm going to take it down. I mean, like, wow. So that was the type of spirit that she was. And you really start to fall in love with this person because it's 1920. Women don't have rights yet. They would. A couple months later, women's suffrage is going to end. They're going to get the right to vote. But this is something that she's doing at a time where it was a very male-dominant, and women weren't really seen as anything but homemakers. And so she really made the strides. And although some historians in town would argue that she wasn't a rebel as we think she is, I think that they just need to do more research. I think that
I think it's really cool that you guys are releasing this film in a year that women empowerment has been like at its all-time high. So being able to experience that and releasing this at the same time, I think is super cool, and I think it'll make like a really big difference, not just in the St. Louis area, but just all around as a whole. People really pay attention because. Like, we want to know who this is. Who is Elsa Lemp, and what makes her so special and different.
Right, and bring to life the people that existed before us.
Yeah.
Only just 100 years ago, but we don't know, we don't have too much on them.
Right, exactly.
It really it brings it to life.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it is got a weird relative thing, right? In 1918, we had the Spanish flu pandemic. And this is in the heart of St. Louis. We're losing 1 in 4 people. And Elsa's living through this in the city. And so at the same time we're releasing this film, we're coming out of one. So I don't know if Elsa had a whisper into what this film was about, but I think that she really, I think she's still very, we went to the cemetery on Saturday to visit her. March 20th was the 101 year anniversary. So me and Lily spent some time out there and talked about the film and kind of had her as the audience, you know, like, hey, like, are we doing anything?
Are we doing everything that you want us to do?
Right.
Give us some insight.
Yeah, exactly. If the tomb door opened, then we were like, all right, we
gotta
re-edit.
Now, before we wrap up into the Causerie Jar segment, like, where can people purchase tickets? Where can they find more information about you guys? And where can they follow you guys at?
The best place to follow us is on the website, would be shiftfilms.net. They can subscribe to the website. We will be releasing more tickets. For right now, we're sold out.
Ooh,
but
okay.
Yeah, we have over 406 people coming to the first couple shows.
Awesome.
We have decided to move the film to Gaslight Theater, and there's a lot of reasons why we chose that theater. So, and that's all going to be revealed in the film. But Gaslight, just the whole name of Gaslight is just perfect for what we're doing for Elsa. So that film is moving there. William Roth, who basically runs Actors Studio, we decided to partner with him instead, just because Chase and the hotel are still interesting because they're tied together.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting for the pandemic, and we have to put this film out this year. So we decided to do it there. So we're going to open up 300 more tickets, but only to the people that register on our website.
Okay,
so
that's smart.
Yes, because I don't want to overload or anything like that. So if you subscribe to shiftfilms.net, subscribe, put your name there, say, hey, I want tickets. Frankie, put me on that list. We will put you on that list, and as soon as they open them up within the next couple of weeks, you'll be able to purchase your tickets. It's only $10 a person. The film's about 90 minutes, and you get Q&A with everybody from the film, the editors, the actors, everybody that worked on it. You'll be able to talk to them for a half hour after the film. And if you really want some stuff, just go ahead and subscribe, and I might throw you the coroner's report or something like that as a special gift for coming by.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now let's go. Who's going first?
She's going first.
All right.
So pick out 2 questions.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to pick mine.
They're not that bad, I promise.
I hope I get something very strange. Oops.
All right. If not blue, what color do you think the sky should be?
She got an easy one.
The next one's
She
not
always
blue.
says that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love the color pink. I think it's a joyous color. I think it's a lovely color. I think it can be also a very strong color. And I feel like if I could look up at the sky and it was just the brightest shade of pink, you know, that pink right when the sun is setting?
Yeah.
And it's just a sliver. I mean, it's still so beautiful, but if you could have a cotton candy sky.
I was thinking cotton candy.
You could have a cotton candy sky. That would be beautiful.
Next question.
Okay.
We'll let you just go first.
All right. When have you felt most proud of yourself?
Oh,
Wow. Okay.
that was made for you.
That was made for me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it
Exactly.
was.
It really was.
Most proud of myself. I think there are many events that have revealed to me my own personal strength, my growth, who I am. I think, and it might be a trivial moment to others, but I think the moment that I bought, well, I'll give a little pre-up here. I bought a motorcycle, didn't know how to ride it, no idea, scary. Tried to use the throttle one day by myself, you know, not a good idea. I took the class, I got my license, and I practiced riding up and down my North City street in St. Louis when I lived there. And I think one of the most proudest moments of my life was going past the on-ramp to the highway, continually just looking at it, you know, wondering when I was going to make that move.
Yeah.
To do something scary, terrifying, something I'd never done before. And when I opened the throttle, getting onto the highway, that feeling of freedom and self-empowerment and strength and growth, and seeing all of those things that you know, I've experienced throughout my life, but just kind of bottled into one moment for me. Like that was really amazing to be able to do that and feel like, okay, I'm comfortable in this growth. I'm comfortable in taking risks. I'm comfortable getting outside of my comfort zone. And that feeling is something that follows me throughout my life, no matter what I'm doing. If it's, you know, taking on a big project with the film company, if it's, you know, making a next move to go to a new city to try something different. I think that moment, thinking back on that moment, now that I am, you know, really lets me know that I can do it,
Yeah, I said that's very inspiring, you know, to have those feelings for somebody that on the outside and be like, she's riding a motorcycle. But for you, that's everything. And I think when it comes to us being passionate about different things in our lives that we love doing, like that's the whole point of how that makes us feel. So I love that. I love your answer. Like I told you, that question was made for you. Frankie, what you got? You got the same question?
You got the guy's bill next door. I don't know how to follow that. I should have went first.
Yeah, that was inspiring.
I know.
That was a teardropper.
Oh, God. When is the last time you can remember feeling totally at peace? Hopefully after this interview. Feeling totally at peace. I think that, you know, when I started in St. Louis, I was married, I had a child, and everything just bottomed out on me. Lost everything. And I had to rebuild from scratch. I had $0 to my name. The partner in this film company, who we haven't mentioned, Jeremy David King, who's been one of my best friends, and he was a person that actually paid for my electric bill, paid for my gas bill.
Wow.
So yeah, it's crazy to see this ride that we've taken for like over 7 years. But for the first time when I moved out here, I felt totally at peace. Namely because I love the area and nobody really talks to you out here. But no, I'm just playing.
No, you're not.
But I looked back at everything that we had accomplished through the friendships, through the hardships, and that we just kept pressing forward.
Yeah.
And I think that true peace comes when you fought a war with yourself. And so that's when you can really feel totally at peace. You have to go through the war first. And that war could be the demons inside you. It could be the things she was talking about with that motorcycle, finally seeing that on-ramp, which is the most scariest thing in the world on a motorcycle. But jumping out of planes. But when you look at those metaphors that we take with us, I think that when you go through that much and you look back and you're like, all right, I'm happy where I'm at. You know, I'm not where I want to be, but I thank God I'm not where I used to be, right? That type of attitude.
Definitely.
So, and then my second question is, what personality trait do you wish you could automatically adopt?
Ooh.
I'm gonna have Lily answer this one
That
for
was
me.
made for you.
Wow. Yeah, these are better than fortune cookies. It's not even lotto numbers.
I've never heard that one. That's actually a good one.
There's not even lotto numbers at the back of it.
No money on this side, okay?
Honestly, I will be. I really wish I could adopt Kuth and not being so forward. I really would. I've been trying, but I have a tendency to just, speak before I think. And I've been reading a lot. I mean, I know your show's not too biblical, but there's actually Jesus' brother James. He wrote something in his book, one of the last books before Revelation, and he says in there, he says, be quick to listen and slow to speak. And that's the thing that I always try to remind myself before I say something. So I would hope that in the future, I mean, I've had texts from Julie all the time, my PR person. She's like, can you remove that post, please? I'm like, yes, Julie. So I'm trying. And then I'll get a little text message from my bestie over here like, please just don't do that right now. Please just stop.
Hey, we're all human at the end of the day.
I
so
mean, I've been canceled since 1994, so that's pretty cool.
Goodness.
I'm like, so I'm trying to see where that's at. But yeah, I think that one of my my star qualities is that I really need to tone down some areas of my life.
So you need to tone down, I need to tone up, right?
Right.
Well, thank you guys so much. I'm Moni XO, and we are out. Be easy. It's your girl Moni XO, and you just finished a 94XO interview. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment to our YouTube channel, and follow us on social media platforms. Be easy.